Alright, here we are. It's this best of one between LFY and iG Vitality, and I'm sorry if I sound a bit tired to you guys, but for me, at least, this is a 3:30 in the morning cast, and hopefully we stay a little bit excited, get some good casting going, and I give it to you as best as I can. Things that get taken out of context that would jeopardize a career. So, LGDFY, we're going to take a look at this draft. They're up against iG Vitality, Slardar Centaur, two offlaners banned out already by LGD Forever Young, LFY, and then Magnus Disruptor banned by iG.V. So 3 offlaners banned out in the first phase of bans, and then for the picks for each side, LFY, they've picked up Jug and Earth Spirit, and for the side of iG.V, they've picked up Nyx, as well as that Warlock. So we take a look at both sides, and we take a look at each team's record. As LFY, currently they're 2-0, while iG.V are 0-2. So it looks as though this is going to be a game of two teams where one is top of the bracket, the other is bottom of the bracket, and sometimes you kind of see that in games kind of change the way a game works, I guess would be the way to say it. You know, LFY being at the top of the bracket, being one of the better teams in the Chinese region, you know, even if they're behind or don't take the best draft, they probably have the advantage even if they were to be behind in the game. But that's just my thought. As we get continuing into this draft, we see the Weaver banned out as well as the Darkseer. Offlaners are banned aplenty in this draft thus far, so with these 2 picks coming out from both sides, we try to figure out what each team's going to go for. Juggernaut probably going to be in that safe lane for the side of LFY. They've got that Earth Spirit, so they still need that mid, still need an offlaner, and another support, and more like a roamer usually comes out in drafts in competitive Dota recently in that 4 position, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Pudge come out from either of these lineups, a hero that really does roam around the map quite well. So, final ban, or second ban of that second phase coming out for iG.V is going to be that Rubik, so they're getting rid of another support, thinking that maybe LFY won't pick up a 4 roamer, such as a Pudge. We will have to see how these drafts kind of line up, as there it is. They do end up going for another, more of a support, not a roamer, and they go with the Crystal Maiden. Although I do like this 2 supports coming out for LFY. Rolling Boulder is always a early on ability that can make a nuisance for any lane. You know, if the Earth Spirit gets in there with a nice Rolling Boulder, gets the slow out on, you know, a mid hero, it could become trouble for said hero in that lane. And there's a lot of aggression in a hero like Earth Spirit, so maybe LFY, they're trying to set up a draft that's focused more on early game aggression. And even with that Crystal Maiden, you know, you've got that root, you've got the Rolling Boulder that can come in. If the 2 of them roam over towards safe lane, or they're probably going to start there as a tri-lane, Earth Spirit, Crystal Maiden could come over and make this lane pretty easy for a Juggernaut. So iG.V, they pick up that Venge. Not too sure if this is a carry Venge or a support Venge just yet. You've got the Nyx on the side of iG.V, and you know he's probably going to be sitting in that off lane. Warlock supporting, and then for this Venge, right now it's too hard to tell whether or not that's core Venge. But with the lineup thus far, I do suspect it to just be support Venge. Nothing really to show that it would be anything but at this moment in time. So LFY, They've got their 2 supports. They've got their safe laner, need a mid and an off laner. They've got quite a bit of team fight going their way right now in Magnetize, Freezing Field, and Omni Slash, and they really want to set that up, and Clockwork is the perfect hero to do so. You get a hook, or you set up a hook with a rolling boulder. There's a lot of things that really combine well here for LFY. So, iG.V, I'm trying to think about what they could use here against this team right now. Maybe we see an OD do well for them in the mid lane. Could see them going for an Invoker. But hopefully this next pick coming out from iG.V will give us a better handle or knowledge that comes out in terms of a Venge carry. And the Invoker pick doesn't really give us more. I did say Invoker, so I feel proud of myself. And you've got an Invoker, you've got a Venge, you've got a Nyx. I mean, I can only think that that Venge is going to end up being support with one more pick to come from this iG.V squad, but they can put it either way. So that makes it hard for LFY to really know what to ban out, correctly, what to stop this lineup with. Right now, I do really love LFY's lineup. I think it will get all tied together by a solid mid. Maybe we see something like a TA come out. As TA has been a pretty popular pick mid. And LFY, they'll ban out that Sven. iG.V could see a Storm get banned out. A lot of mobility for the side of LFY with a Storm. Especially with the Rolling Boulder and the hook shot, which is a lot of initiation. For the side of LFY, I could see Storm getting banned out. You really don't want to deal with another initiator on the side of LFY and someone who really, with a good start, can do very well. And SF, not a bad choice either, as his ult with the supporting cast that he would have had would have been devastating.
Beastmaster.
So, Beastmaster gets picked up. Looking like it's going to be a core Venge. Could see Beastmaster go in the jungle with Nyx off lane and Invoker mid. And now we'll see what LGD, Forever Young, LFY. Let's see what they pick up next. I like Storm Spirit in this position, and that's going to be my thought on that mid. Storm Spirit works well with all these heroes, especially with the mana regen of Crystal Maiden. That passive is always nice, especially early on. So we'll see what they go with, and they will pick up that Sniper. So Sniper, Clockwork, Crystal Maiden, Earth Spirit, Juggernaut. Again, not a bad pick. Sniper is going to be one of those heroes who can sit back, let Clockwork, as well as the Earth Spirit and even the Juggernaut, really move on forward, be those guys in the midst of the fight, and then Sniper from the back, just hitting in onto the side of iG.V and really making it tough to get anything done. So, Juggernaut, Earth Spirit, Crystal Maiden, Clockwork, Sniper. Up against Invoker, Venge, Beastmaster, Nyx, and Warlock. So we take a look at both these sides. Take a look at who's playing what. So we see dogfights out on the Nyx. Playing the Beastmaster is going to be in July. Warlock going to be played by Super over on the Venge. It will be Cicada. And then finally Paparazzi, one of their best players on the side of iG.V mid with this Invoker. For the side of LFY, we take a look over. Monet is going to be on that Juggernaut for LFY. And we take a look. It's going to be on the CM is going to be LPC. Super playing the Sniper. White on the Earth Spirit. And finally, playing the Clockwork will be Jixing. So it should be in these lanes together. Warlock Venge down low. Possibly Beastmaster in the jungle with dogfights going in the off lane. As well as Paparazzi mid. For the side of LFY, of course, it's going to be Monet safe lane. And then we're going to see him supported by this Crystal Maiden. Off lane's going to be Jixing with the Clockwork. Mid, of course, Sniper, played by Super. And then who I think will be roaming around will be White on the Earth Spirit.
The battle begins.
So no aggression from either side. 2 bounty runes apiece, and we'll see these lanes start to take shape. As we do see White just sticking towards mid, does have that early Orb of Venom. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make an early pick here up top, up against this Nyx Dogfights. As if it's just him and he doesn't have Spike Carapace, he could find himself in a whole bunch of trouble, especially with the Frostbite taken first by Crystal Maiden. So Crystal Maiden is going to be spotted by these creeps, just trying to slow them down, create the nice equilibrium, and then White already looking over as we do take a look as Dogfight's waiting above the lane, out of vision of these 3 heroes of this tri-lane up top. So White, LPC, they are looking for dogfights and just trying to find vision. They will spot him, and now he might be in a little bit of trouble. He hasn't skilled anything just yet. The Frostbite as well as the Blade Fury, that'll all be enough with the Rolling Boulder coming on through for first blood, going the way of LPC and LFY. So things already looking up for LFY. They want to start 3-0, while very much so iG.V do not want to start off 0-3. And Jixing, he's going to be harassed back out of this lane as Cicada there with the Magic Missile. And the Shadow Word comes out onto the Clockwork as well. So if you're joining me here at 3:30 in the morning, welcome. Try to give you guys as best I can in a 3:30 in the morning cast. To do some NA earlier today, so already warmed up in terms of just casting Dota. And we'll have to see how the rest of this goes. So we take a look over mid. Paparazzi here, 9-3. While the Sniper only has 3 last hits thus far. Super really struggling early on. But hopefully he could just stay on close. Maybe get a gank over from the Earth Spirit. And quite possibly find themselves a kill, but it might have to wait until Super is level 6. Again, we take a look over at Dogfights, who does have that Spike Carapace, trying to find himself in early level 3, but even now with that Spike Carapace, he could be in a little bit of trouble, as we saw how quickly LFY can take him out. So coming on over is the Crystal Maiden LPC. White just standing by and possibly looking for their opportunity to get a kill out on Dogfights. So that lane seems to be going in favor of LFY. We take a look over at Jixing. He's 10-7, staying equal with Cicada thus far. So the lane is about equal in terms of last hits, net worth, and all that. And really the one who's the oddball out is iG.V, who's just trying to jungle as much as he can. He's got himself that Iron Talon and has 14 last hits, so he's doing okay. Has picked himself up boots. And now this is the play that I thought LFY were going to make a little bit earlier on. White, he's looking for that Rolling Boulder over on Paparazzi, who's sitting at about 2/3 health. So if he gets caught out a little bit too far through on this river, he might be in a little bit of trouble. There's the Rolling Boulder, going to miss, but the stun comes through. And Paparazzi will just be sent back after a little bit of harass going his way. So White comes over in a play I thought he'd make a little bit earlier. Doesn't really get too much out of it. And with that, he'll back off towards safe lane and maybe look for another kill, this time going the way of Nyx, who Dogfights might already be in a little bit of trouble. There's no mana for the side of LPC to get anything out of this, and he will actually TP out. So And you can't win them all, I guess. So Jixing actually gonna spot Super. Does get the cogs around him as well. Has the battery assault just hitting away. The Shadow Word not gonna be enough to keep him alive, as one more shot is all he needs. And there is the Rocket Flare to finish off Super. It's now 2-0. Sunstrike well off the mark. And now the Magic Missile comes out from Cicada, but with those cogs, Jixing will be able to back himself up into some safety. So we take a look up top again as White. They're looking to get themselves a kill on dogfights, but he's sitting way too far back to really be got on at this moment in time, as White just trying to make him feel uncomfortable. Will throw a Remnant forward.
Incoming.
And that'll really be about it. So up top, Monet, 29 and 23 leads the CS. And looks as though he's going to be trying to finish off a Wand as well as go into a Helm of the Dominator early on. Monet, he's really owning this lane above Dogfights, who's only 3-0, struggling mightily to find any last hits, and it's just not going to happen for him the way it's happening in this lane right now. He's just been forced back so many times, doesn't feel safe against the rotation or possible rotation of an Earth Spirit, as well as the Crystal Maiden, and that will find himself some trouble. Meanwhile, Jixing, he's going to go down. The aggression towards Super is what's going to bring him to his demise, and iG.V get a little bit of a present down low. So in July had to come over, but now he's level 6, and with that Primal Roar, the side of iG.V might look to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of these early game kills. So White, he's under that bird vision, and they know he's there. They might be looking for a Primal Roar with somebody to come over. But in July, all by himself, no support, no kill going his way, and he won't even go for it. As White has now made his way down bottom and is going to hide over by this side shop, possibly looking for a kill with this Clockwork, who now has Hookshot online. And scratch that. White just going to TP up top. So we switch it over to the net worth. There's a rolling boulder in. Going to miss on Dogfights. The stun flies through. It will hit this time around, and Dogfights, he's going to have to run away. He doesn't have Vendetta, and there's the Blade Fury to avoid the stun coming out from Dogfights. And with avoiding that stun, it will be enough for Monet to find himself yet another kill on to this Nyx. So 3-1 in favor of LFY. As the lead in net worth is now 2,500 experience for the side of LFY. So not a big lead there, but the 2,000 net worth is a nice padding for this early game of LFY. They've got a Jug who's looking for that headdress, possibly looking for a Helm of the Dominator. Did not put my settings on for casting. Coming over is White. And now there's the TP from Cicada in July. He's going to walk right into White, who's going to have to back off, but the Primal Roar is there. Cicada going to follow that up with a Magic Missile, and the Sunstrike will do the rest. As iG.V get themselves a kill, there's a swap in from Cicada on LPC. I'm not too sure that's the play you want to make, but two of them are really going deep on LPC. Will get themselves a kill. There's the Omni Slash flying through. So it's a 2-for-1 trade. They get a Core Venge for 2 supports. And now the hook shot flies through from this Clockwork on a Dogfights. But it doesn't look like they'll get any more. And it'll be a hook shot all for naught from Jixing. So they get the hook shot out on Dogfights. But Not really the play. No backup from the side of LFY to make that into anything more. And now that will be on cooldown for another 50 seconds while Jixing will farm up and ultimately be looking for a blade mail of his own. So we take a look down low. Super here with just his boots. The carry Venge is not doing too great, sitting at 3,000 net worth, almost a full 1,000 under this Jug and 500 below this Sniper. We take a look over at iG.V. Primal Roar up in 6, so they do smoke up a little bit early, trying to find themselves a kill towards the side of LFY, and nobody's sitting mid. We'll make this a hard rotation for the side of iG.V. But in July, they come on over. Monet going to use that Blade Fury. There's the swap with the Primal Roar, but it's not really lining up too well. The stun comes out on one. The Sunstrike hits on Monet. He's still trying to back himself up. Silenced up is iG.V, who needs just about one more hit to get the kill on Monet, but he gets away as the slow comes through from LPC. They will find themselves a kill on the Beastmaster, but Jug will fall there too, and then they will finally finish off Cicada with the Assassinate. So 2 cores for 1, this time in favor for LFY, and with that, 4 will move on through. A hook shot landing on a Dogfights. There's the Spike Carapace stunning this Clockwork under tower. No creeps to save him, but the Battery Assault will fly through on Dogfights, and so will a Rolling Boulder to finish off the Nyx. There's the TP from Cicada. Wave of Terror comes through in July on the back end. They're trying to find themselves a kill. There's the swap Magic Missile and the kill out on Jixing. And now White might be in a whole bunch of trouble as he really needs to get out of there, but does not have a TP scroll, so he's going to Rolling Boulder, find himself some space, and actually will find enough space to get out safely. Up top, they have ended up using that Warlock ulti. Coming over with the Vendetta is Dogfights, trying to find a kill on Super, who might find himself in a little bit of trouble. Dogfights gets the hit on the Vendetta, but now there's the Frostbite, and the stun misses. So Super trying to run away from the Golem, trying to run away from Super. He's still just running away, but he will fall. Super takes himself out, but little does he know, he's killed himself on the other team. iG.V. The Super Warlock gets the Super Sniper. It's a weird paradox in itself. iG.V trying to find himself some vision. Jixing coming over. He does have that hook shot to stop the TP of iG.V. He's got the Battery Assault as well. And now he's going to hook shot him with the Cogs, and the Battery Assault should be enough to take out iG.V, and it will. So 8-6 in favor of LFY. The net worth starting to crawl back towards iG.V, but it does sit still 1,000 in favor of LFY, and they're going to continue to try and extend it as much as they can. There's a Sentry Ward here for the side of LFY, and I'm not too sure if Dogfights really realize that, but he does back off and he won't be in vision. Dogfights does ping out Jixing, however, and there are 2 TPing in and making the rotation towards this Clockwork. So Clockwork is going to head over towards the Sentry Ward and now backs off away. Thought he might be able to get Dogfights into some vision. There's the Vendetta, and he's not going to be able to follow it up for a stun. And that'll be a Clockwork just getting out plain and easy. Ah, 3:45 coffee. Delish. So hook shot available for this Clockwork. I could see him try to be a little bit aggressive and maybe rotations come out from LFY, but while I say that, he backs off, makes himself some space, and he is making some real space for his team as they do find Paparazzi mid, and we'll probably follow that up with this tier 1 too. That's tier 1, comma, TOO. Tier 1 too. So everybody around for the side of LFY. A rotation does come in from Dogfights, who is in his Vendetta for right now, but there's a Sentry close to Super, who does spot Dogfight. Stun comes through on the Beastmaster. Silence comes the way of this Nyx, who might be in a little bit of trouble. Dogfight gets very low right there, and then the hook shot flies through from Jixing, but I'm pretty sure it was stopped by that boar. I didn't exactly catch it on camera, but I'm thinking that's how it's got to happen, is you heard the clank of the ult. So they take the tier 1 mid, they lose a tier 1 up top. Let's take a look at Cicada. He's got himself that 4-staff, really looking for that early Hurricane Pike. And might see him go for a Desolator after. Helm of the Dominator already out on this Jug and looking for a Manta style next. Has picked up the Yasha. And we take a look over at the Invoker, who does go for the 4-staff first. And that's really a response to this Clockwork. You don't want to be caught in cogs. You don't want to continue to go down to the rotations of LFY with Jixing. And you need to be able to stay alive long enough to really find yourself some farms. So the 4-staff's going to be there to get out of cogs, get out of harm's way, and then head towards the Axe, which I think is a solid choice for Paparazzi. So they did try and smoke on the side of iG.V, but they don't find anything with it, as LFY was sitting more towards their bottom bounty rune area and away from the side of iG.V in any rotation they had thrown their way. So Super still has this chaotic offering waiting in the wing. We'll see if iG.V look for a fight. They might want to sit back, wait for Paparazzi to get that Ags, maybe hope that Venge finishes off this Hurricane Pike first, as it looks as though they're just kind of being complacent in sitting back and farming, and there's really no shame in that. Being down 2,000 net worth, about an even game thus far between these two teams, who have quite a different story in their opening for this group stage, as LFY is 2-0 and iG.V is 0-2, and there's the hook shot coming in onto this Invoker. He's stunned up, as well as Silence. He's going to be able to 4-staff out, but I'm not too sure that's going to save his life, as the Magnetize is there too, and LPC will get credit for a kill. Meanwhile, Monet all the way up top will fall to both Cicada and Dogfights. So a 1-for-1 trade in terms of cores, and to me, I kind of favor that for LFY, as you're stopping this Invoker from getting a very important item in his Ags. Assassination flies through on Angel. I would catch the end of that. And now with 2 cores going down on the side of iG.V, definitely in favor of LFY on the exchange. So Jixing does have that 4-staff, or has the Blade Mail, sorry, looking at what he's got queued up next. And what he's got queued up next, you'll never guess, it's a 4-staff. And then Super, he's already got that Dragon Lance, has the Maelstrom, probably going to look for a Mjolnir next. And LFY, they are rolling pretty well, now put that net worth back up towards 2,000. As they might be looking for a play as they all group up here. Don't have, they do have a smoke. There it is on white. So they get the smoke out, not going to hit on LPC, but that won't stop them from making the rotation down low. They start to head the direction of iG.V. Turn around. Interesting turn of events. They turn around and might be looking for something mid. They see these creeps. They see the possibility of getting a hook shot out on Dogfights, especially since he's just used that stun. And now iG.V have smoked up as well. So they're showing Dogfights in the mid lane, and that's a bad choice, as Jixing, who's been on the money with these hook shots, will land it on Dogfights. And despite using the Spike Carapace, the side of LFY will find themselves a kill, and the Rocket Flare comes all the way through to spot the rest of iG.V down low. So LFY, they continue to get these pickoffs, one after the next, after the next, after the next. And they'll very much take it. The farm, the net worth continues to spread in their favor. Super has no problem with it. And meanwhile, we take a look at Monet, who, very close to this Manta style, has no regrets either. So huge rotations from iG.V come out with dogfights in July and Super leading the pack. It's the Vendetta that's going to try and get vision for the side of iG.V on LFY. So he does get the Vendetta with the stun. Sunstrike will hit too. And they actually get a return pick off of their own on iG.V. So iG.V, they'll take a kill of their own and actually do head in towards Roche, but they will be found out by that rocket flare. So that'll push iG.V out of Roche and have them continuing to farm as much as they can. They're about 1,300 away from the Ags on the Invoker. Paparazzi really needs this item before they start team fighting successfully. And once he has it, you could see iG.V start to be more on the aggressive side. As for Super, looking for that Midas. Gonna be a long road to that as he's only got 300 more gold. And now, dogfights, he's picked up one of his own. Really wants to get that XP back that he's missed out on this entire game, and then hopefully look for a bit more gold and find himself a 4-staff of his own. So in July, using that bird to try and scout some vision, the board does spot LPC. Frostbite thrown through on the board. They will get themselves 29 gold on white. An easy last hit. So both teams kind of sitting back here, and it's more LFY being complacent and iG.V moving around the map, farming as much as they can. They are getting a push up top from In July, who does already have that Necro 1, saving up for the Necro 3, trying to get the push capabilities online for the side of iG.V, and for some possible rotations that LFY don't feel comfortable about. You know, when you force them into unplanned rotations, it makes it hard for LFY to set something up, and Beastmaster, probably after that Necro book, might find him getting a 4-staff as well, or even possibly Boots of Travel, just to really mess with LFY and their whole setup. So very aggressive right now is dogfights with the Vendetta. Hasn't been spotted once, really, ever since he's gotten aggressive in the last 7 minutes or so. And he's being a good scout for their iG.V. But Manta style out here for Monet. We take a look over at Sniper, who's already finished off that Mjolnir, and they've complacently sat back and farmed, and they'll take it, because they had a small enough lead where they can continue to hold it all the way through this little time of farming, and now they've got a 5-man smoke. So the Sunstrike comes through on Roche, but looks as though LFY might enter now after that's all been said and done. They scouted out Roche. They're going to miss it if LFY went in, but now LFY, they're looking to take a couple of kills here, and now Smoke's going to break on Jixing. Not going to find anything mid as Earth Spirit as well as the Venge were just sitting mid. And this Smoke is going to run out and look to be a waste for LFY. And that's good movement for the side of iG.V. They move, they try to take this tier 2, and now the rotations are coming up from LFY, and they're not going to find anything. So the tower's been pushed to half health. LFY, they're going to push out this creep wave right on back, but this is good movement from iG.V and making it very tough for LFY to really capitalize on the advantage they have. And when you're failing to capitalize on this small advantage, knowing that you do have some good team fight right now, it definitely gets frustrating for LFY. And iG.V, they've got to be happy with it. Getting more farm on Cicada. He's already got that Hurricane Pike, looking for a BKB over on the Invoker. He has finished off that Ags and now is going for a BKB of his own. And then with the Beastmaster, he's got Necro 2 and Nyx has picked up that Midas and getting ever so close to the 4-step. So they're getting their items. They're happy with the game continuing to go this way. They'll chip down these towers and really just stay the course for iG.V and LFY. They're getting very upset in the fact that they can't find any kills. And Monet now trying to get aggressive. There's the Sunstrike with the Primal Roar. Now the hookshot comes on through, but really not doing too much. The swap's going to be out on the Earth Spirit. Freezing Field follows suit. Cicada in a bit of trouble, but they've already lost the Earth Spirit. Cicada's still very high and strong right now, and Paparazzi comes in and finds himself a double kill. So LFY, they lose 3. They'll lose this bottom tier 1. And iG.V have pulled themselves back into this game. They were down only 2,000 net worth. With that fight, they take a 2,000 net worth lead of their own. They'll push a tier 1 down. They'll look for a tier 2 in this bottom lane. And things are looking like it's very much in favor of iG.V at this point in the game. And with a couple of these plays, I do apologize if I'm not getting, you know, all the energy out there. Gotta remember, there are people sleeping in the house, 4 a.m. and whatnot. So I can't be yelling definitely much as I like to. I do like iG.V. It's a team I've followed for some time, ever since I casted DPL back in the day, about last summer. And, you know, they haven't exactly hit probably all their own expectations, but they do want to turn it around with this 0-2 start to start this group stage, and a win over LFY would be a very monumental start. So Sunstrike is going to spot LPC. Not too sure if it landed. Was still at full health. We take a look over at the sniper. And a lot of heroes in the map right now are really just looking for that BKB. They're trying to get that sustain, get that team fight up. And the BKBs are going to be coming out soon for the Invoker. Or actually, he already has it. Excuse me. He's looking for Boots of Travel with that recipe. We take a look over at the Venge. BKB already finished there. And Beastmaster just looking for Blink to open up the initiation with the Blink Primal Roar. So they are going to try and smoke up. They do have the Primal Roar off cooldown, and they do have the Necro 3 as well as these 2 BKBs. This is really iG.V's time to fight. And they might run in to the side of LFY. They actually go in a Roche, who's just been stunned up by a Remnant. So do they commit to this Roche, or do they look deep into the jungle for anyone on the side of LFY? And that's really the question here for iG.V. Maybe something they're thinking about before they take this Roche. And they will go for the Roche. The Sunstrike as well as the Boar, Necro Creeps, Wave of Terror all come through. And now, Rocket Flare is out. Tornado thrown in the direction of LFY, where that hookshot would have to come from for them to stop this Aegis going the way of iG.V. And they take the Roche pretty quickly, find themselves an Aegis out on Venge. And they continue to look forward in this game. And looking for a win is iG.V. So LFY, you know, they were the aggressors early on. They were the ones winning the fights, winning the pickoffs, and things have kind of turned tides in the last 7 minutes. There's the hookshot coming all the way through the team. It really does split the teams on quite a couple, and Super going to get silenced up. He's not even going to be able to drop that Chaotic, offering a fight that's starting to go the way of LFY to start it off. Cicada getting very low. They're going to pop that Aegis, but Super finds himself just escaping with a little bit of health. Cicada's going to try and run away. There's the EMP coming out on a bunch on the side of LFY, and Cicada will not be able to finish off Super. They get 2 on the side of LFY, and they might be able to get 3 in dogfights, as there is the stun. They hit away at him, and there will be 3. The assassination will make sure of it, but the last hit comes through via the Earth Spirit White. So this time it's LFY on the beneficial side of a 3-0 trade, as they take out Warlock, take out Nyx, and they take out the carry Venge. And on top of all that, they hold this tier 2 top. So not the fight they were looking for, and the hookshot came all the way through onto the Warlock, who couldn't get out that Chaotic offering, and that might have been the tide changer in that fight, but with it not getting off and things getting a little bit sloppy for iG.V, LFY do take advantage, and they do take that fight without losing a single soul. So Monet, continuing to farm up, has found himself a Diffusal Blade. And we'll be looking for a Blink next. We take a look over at the Sniper. Super, who's finished off the BKB, has saved up 1,800 gold, looking towards that next item for this Sniper. And then let's take a look over at the Clockwork, who is not going for Ags, but instead looks to be going after a Lotus Orb. So, top tower does get denied by the dominated creep, as in July and Paparazzi were making their way over top to try and finish it off. But better plans come out for Monet, and he finishes it off with the dominated creep. Denies them some money, and LFY off that 3-0 might be looking to get themselves a little bit more. SNY getting built for Venge. And quite a bit a ways away from completing it, as all 5 are up here for LFY. No smoke on this Earth Spirit, no smoke on the Crystal Maiden, so they're not going to be smoking up looking for the aggressive play, just sitting as 5, just really in case at this point. So iG.V, they're going to make their way down low, looking to keep the aggression out. So they've got the Necro 3, the Boar, and the Bird, just trying to scout the side of LFY out. But they don't find anything, and there's the Rocket Flare coming through from Clockwork. And the two teams are split on the opposite side of both, or on the opposite side of this mid lane. Opposite sides of this mid lane. So the push will come through a little bit for iG.V. They'll back off. LFY will look to defend, just take out these creeps down low, and that will be LPC's job, but is supported by the rest of the cast, Super, White, as well as Jixing. They'll push out these creeps, continue to farm. Super, he is looking for a Lincoln Sphere. And maybe after that, they'll feel a bit more comfortable knowing they can avoid the Primal Roar, at least on the Sniper. So 32 minutes in, we take a look at the net worth, 6,000 gold in favor of iG.V. And if you weren't here earlier, like I said before, iG.V, they've started this group stage out very shaky. They started out 0-2, while LFY, top dogs at the moment, started out 2-0. So, you know, iG.V, they could take every win they can get, and it would be a monumental start to a possible comeback in the group stage if they do beat top dogs like LFY. So it's never over in a game like this. Despite the 6,000 net worth lead, anything can happen. You know, sometimes you hear that bias come out where, you know, a caster will look at a game like it's over just because a team has a huge lead, and that is never the case. In iG.V, they want to make sure they extend this lead a little bit more. They get a 5-man smoke, they run down mid, and with that Rocket Flare coming in from the side, maybe iG.V, they look over towards the right, where that Rocket Flare came from for a possible pickoff. They do spot Super. That's going to be enough in for a swap. There is the BKB pop, but the Sunstrike comes on through. Super might be in a little bit of trouble. He's already getting a little bit low. The Chaotic Offering comes out and stuns too. And now it looks as though LFY might be in a little bit of trouble. The Freezing Field all the way back, but they've already lost 3 on the side of LFY to a triple kill of Paparazzi, and they will lose 4. It's an ultra kill for this Invoker. So 4 kills go for Paparazzi. They lose none for iG.V. With that, they'll push this tier 2 and maybe look for a high ground siege of their own, and looking for the first high ground of the game. They've got the Golem still alive. They've got all 5 on their side, and as well as nationwide, they're going to look towards mid, and this is a quick tier 3 for iG.V. Glyph only extends the inevitable, and now they look for racks. They hit very hard. And they'll get both. With the tier 3 going down, they have the shrines available. You'll get the one that is closest to Roche. Make sure you have a little bit of a safety net when going for it next time around by taking out that shrine. By taking out that shrine. Okay, never mind. Right. So, you do just back off taking that tier 3 as well as the racks. And now that'll put LFY significantly behind, 15,000 in the XP range and 15,000 in the net worth. We're waiting for Roche to come back up, but it will be quite some time. And iG.V, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue on with the aggression. They are very far ahead at this moment in time. They're looking for the Octarine core out for Paparazzi. He's not too far away from it. And then for the Venge, has the SNY with the Hurricane Pike. Going for the Butterfly next is Cicada. And then, of course, we've got that Beastmaster. Necro 3, Vlad's Blink. And the huge pushing potential that is there for iG.V. Meanwhile, it's a 5-man smoke this time around for LFY. Tornado comes through the center. Will land on the Earth Spirit, make it a little bit more difficult for the side of LFY to make something happen. And they'll walk all the way through the jungle looking towards bottom to find a kill on iG.V. But not going to find anything as they're really sitting back towards their base. So they will go after Roche again, and it should be an easy kill for iG.V to get this Aegis once again, and now look to be aggressive moving on forward. Sit back. Now they take the Shrine. The Necro 3 popped 4 in July. Let's see if they push up top, push out this creep wave. But really, iG.V, they just kind of split up. So LFY, they know they need to make a stand at their high ground as they kind of wait for iG.V to make their move. And as iG.V, they continue to just push forward these creep waves and then delta maneuver back towards another lane that needs a bit of pushing. And this time it will be bottom that gets the call. So 4 now bottom here for iG.V. They still hold on to that Aegis, and they will ghost walk forward with Paparazzi, and they say, let's take another Shrine, let's push this wave down low, make it harder for the rotations to come out from LFY, and then from here, continue to push bottom and maybe look for another tier 3 as well as a set of racks. So here it is again, looking for the tier 3. Stun comes through from the Earth Spirit, not going to land on anything important on the side of iG.V. Tornado comes through onto this sniper who might be in a little bit of trouble. There's the Sunstrike that will land too. And iG.V, they'll clear out this creep wave, move back just a little bit, waiting for their own creeps. Reset. Retry again for the tier 3 as well as this set of racks. So sitting back, trying to hold on is Super and the gang, and now blinking on forward is Monet, who's immediately hit by that stun. There's the Clockwork ult coming on through with the hook shot. That's going to land on 2. They might be able to take down this Beastmaster, and they will. But meanwhile, on the back end, it's going to be Crystal Maiden falling as the BKB is popped by Paparazzi, and now they will get the swap out. Might be in a little bit of trouble on the side of LFY as everybody's starting to get a little bit low, and now they will take out Monet as it's a double kill for Paparazzi. Paparazzi does not have this Aegis, and there's the Assassinate coming through. He will have to Tornado to keep himself alive. They do get the Tornado out on white, And that will be another triple kill for Paparazzi, saving his life with the littlest sliver of health. They take out 3 over LFY, losing 2. Is iG.V. So Aegis was there for Cicada, not even going to expend it in that fight. They don't take the tower or the Rex as they had to retreat about halfway in as they lost the Beastmaster. A good solid hook shot came out through for Jixing, and that's really what stopped the momentum of iG.V. They got the hook shot out on 2. The Beastmaster was just about immediately dead, and no Primal Roar could come out, no Necro Creeps, nothing from that Beastmaster, and that's really what helped LFY hold that bottom tier 3 in racks. Actually, take a look down low as Jixing's going to have to use that Force Staff, but coming through his dogfights, just trying to find that stun. There's the blink with the stun hitting on Jixing, and the swap on back. Cold Snap hits Blade Mail. That ain't doing nothing for you, as Cicada gets credit for the kill on the Clockwork. So, iG.V, they'll try again. They get the kill on the Clockwork, 43 seconds on the sideline. He'll buy back early to make sure they hold, as he's trying to land another good hook shot out on at least 1. So they look for more. Monet blinks in. He's trying to find himself something on Cicada, who still has that Aegis backing off, and now the Shadow Word's out on him. And the Assassinate flies through and pops the Aegis. So thus far, another good hold for LFY. Let's see if iG.V look to reset and continue through. So iG.V, they end up retreating. They don't have that Aegis, and they kind of witness how quickly they can be taken out by LFY. And with that, they know that they have to kind of sit back and wait for the Aegis to kind of try again. LFY, they've helped one more time. They lose the tier 3 down low, but hold the racks, which is much more important. We take a look over at Jixing, who does not have an Eggs, but he's got himself that Blade Mail. And then we take a look over at Monet, who still has that Diffusal Blade, but now this time around does have the Maelstrom. And the one who's really been doing the damage on the back end is Super, who's got himself that Crystal. Is looking for the Daedalus now to combine that with the Mjolnir Lincoln's Dragonlance. And they are holding well with what they've got thus far. And iG.V, they really need to take it carefully and need to take it precisely to try and finish the game up. It's been very tough for them the last 2 exchanges down low, as it has not worked out for them either time. They did take the tier 3 on the second one, but it just both times has not been enough to sign, seal, and deliver this game. So they're continuing to push mid. The lane they have the racks down in. They'll push these creeps down bottom and top. And iG.V, they continue to sit as 5, as does LFY. But LFY, they're stuck in their own base. They know if they go out a little bit too far, they could be caught out, and that could be the game. So they really cannot chance it and need iG.V to come to them. And iG.V are looking to make that move. They're looking to move forward onto the side of LFY, but they need to make their moment at the precise time. And they're kind of just keeping the aggression up until Roche is back up. Or is it so it seems? it will be Paparazzi who leads the fray. He's got himself that Hurricane Pike Shiva's Octarine Core Ags. A solid combination of items for this Invoker. And then the Venge, which didn't have the best of starts. Cicada now has picked up that Butterfly on top of everything else. So let's see, are LFY going to make that move, make that aggressive play, something that, you know, when time goes by and you sit in your base longer and longer, you get kind of that cramped up feeling in your own base, and you find yourself thinking you need to make something happen, and that was not it. As Super pops the BKB, gotta be a misclick there. So that could be a huge misclick for Super on the Sniper. And now over on this Roche, it's going to be the third Roche. Aegis and Cheese for iG.V. And they should be a bit more comfortable after they grab both. And again, look to high ground siege once more. So Aegis again out on Cicada, level 25, has taken that magic missile piercing spell immunity, so despite the misclick from the Super Sniper, it wouldn't matter. And iG.V, they head towards the creep wave and ultimately look to push once again. So actually moving on forward, LPC in a whole bunch of trouble is coming in as Paparazzi with the Deafening Blast and Chaos Meteor, excuse me. Paparazzi will find a kill on a CM, 45 seconds no buyback, and makes the hold that much more difficult for LFY. So Dogfight's gonna stand in that shrapnel. Gets the Spike Carapace out, but it doesn't move iG.V in. And again, iG.V will wait for some creeps and look to make their move. 14 seconds till the CM is up. There's the swap back on a Monet, who's going to try and use that Blade Fury. There's the hookshot coming in through Jixing, but not going to get him locked into the cogs. They've already lost Monet. He's going to be dead for 83 seconds. Super looking to be the next victim, as there is the Chaotic offering coming on through. And now they look to finish off this game on the side of iG.V, but it's not all going right, as Venge has already fallen once. The Frostbite comes on through on a Dogfights, and now he's stuck in place as they're trying to find themselves a couple of kills on the side of LFY. There comes the Deafening Blast. They've taken out all 5, and iG.V, they beat the top standing team, who's 2-0, and now 2-1 at this point. And they themselves move to 1-2, and with a win like that, they're crawling themselves back up to a top 4 team to try and continue to qualify. So I'll be back in a moment with the next game. I'm not too sure off the top of my head what it is, but it is another Chinese region game. I'm your caster, Bkop. We'll be back in a moment with that game as I continue to drink this coffee. Maybe get a quick little power eye close nap for 5 seconds. And, we'll be back with the next game in just a moment. Thank you for watching.